Music is processed in more regions of the brain than we ever imagined, says Joseph Roschecker, Georgetown University. Music is a great example of how different parts of the brain can act together. It's worth studying because, he says, music can have a profound, even physical effect on the brain. Even physical effect on the brain. Perhaps most graphic of all recent discovery, Gottfried Schlag at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston, that music may actually affect brain size. When he compared the brain scans of 30 musicians with those of 30 non-musicians, he found, and I want you to, if you can remember this word, corpus callosum, the cable that neurons connecting the brain's left and right hemisphere, the bridge. The corpus callosum, the bridge from the left to the right. And keep in mind, you are desperately trying to get from the left to the right. And he found that the corpus callosum, that bridge connecting the left and the right, down, were larger among musicians. Okay? Music is hardwired into. We're now only realizing how important this is to us. And listen to this one here. When the patients played drums or sang along with their songs, their serum melatonin levels skyrocketed. Now, so according to the scientists, there is something that happens in the realm of consciousness as a result of music. In other words, it is more than just something pretty or something exciting. It actually changes the brain and can cause a deep change in the corpus callosum, which is the bridge connecting the left and right hemisphere. And don't you want to cross that bridge? I mean, Jesus said in the Bible.
All right, that's enough of that. Kahalaliyam da Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Waharakakurash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of GMS who rule well, who I learned this truth from. And salutations and blessings to you elect out there, starting with the 144,000 on down. So this lesson is going into the effects of music, specifically drums. Okay, you know, you got a lot of drums in today's society. Drums in general, obviously, was a big part of music, but there's a big significance in drums. But that's some information that this guy brought out. You can look it up. The corpus. The bridge that he mentioned, you can look it up on Google. I'm not going to look it up, but you know, they did find that you know, people that played music and whatnot, they had a better connection and whatnot. But let's go into this. So I asked chat about war drums, right? Because remember, in war drums were always used during colonial times, during ancient times. You had big ass drums. You had the British with the little snare drums, right when they're going to war, right? So these are the reasons why these things were done. You know, it's all about the energy that is cultivating the elites. What they do is energy harvest from you people, right? They harvest your energy. So it says war drums stir aggression for practical, biological, and psychological reasons. This is not mysticism. It is physiology and group mechanics refined over centuries. From Babylon and Assyria to medieval armies and modern militaries, drums serve the same core function. Rhythm hijacks the nervous system. Low frequency percussion, right? And this is a big reason why you got them drums in that dark ass rap music, really the trap. But even the rap, back in the day, you had you had this demonic genre from down south, you know, like Memphis, for example. Like I'm thinking of 3-6 Mafia, but even before 3-6 Mafia, certain brothers remember, you had a guy called Lord Infamous. And if you listen to that fucking music, which is popping up back on TikTok and all this shit, but if you listen to that, you hear some demonic ass frequencies, but it's a drum that's the main core. Right? You'll hear that drum, and in today's trap and all this whatever jargon of music that you could want to, you know, if you can even call it music, it's a lot of the drums. The drums, you know, like you listen to Mobb Deep back in the day, the drums, You know, dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. You know, that shit gets you ready for war, and it's not by chance. You know, this shit really rouses you up, man. You know, and that coupled with, you know, no opportunities in the ghetto, you know, jobs being taken away, you growing up pretty much persecuted with a bad attitude, and then here you go, here's some crack, sir, here's some guns. You got a perfect storm. You got a recipe for a perfect storm. All right, it says, look, it elevates your heart rate, it stimulates adrenaline. So when you go to the club and you're already liquored up and doped up, you're on whatever drugs you're on, and you got your gun on you, right? And you already feel away when you have your gun on you. But that music, man, it'll fine tune you, you know, to any nigga that that looks the wrong way at, you know, at you in your direction. You're gonna shoot him, you know, sometimes in the club or outside, right? So it stimulates your adrenaline, it activates the sympathetic fight response. Your body entrains to rhythm. A steady, forceful beat pulls breathing and pulse into alignment. Faster tempo equals heightened arousal. It literally primes the body for combat. And this is why ancient cultures, all kinds of cultures, where whether you go to India, Southeast Asia, you know, wherever you go, they had their dances, you know. And really, what I'm thinking about is Gad as well. Gad, Reuben, right? They have their war drums, right? Boom, 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 boom. That shit gets you ready. You know, you hear the war drums, man singing. You put it on your war paint. You're getting mentally prepared. Your heart rate is elevated. Your adrenaline is jacked. It all makes sense. Now I'm not saying now here's the thing. I'm not saying the drums are wicked. What I'm saying is with this trap music or this rap and all this crap, it prepares you to do some folly to your own brother. And engineered by who? I can't even say it. I don't want this video to get taken down. Okay, but we know who runs the music industry, you know, the label companies. You want to get into the movies, the studio companies, the producers, the directors, right? The script writers. It says number 2, synchronization creates collective aggression. When men march to one beat, footfalls synchronize. That's why the army, right, they stomp at the same rhythm. It's synchronization, right? You'll hear the foot stomps in a synchronized manner, right? That last foot stomp, everybody foot stomps at the same time, and they shift to another direction, and it all makes one noise and it's synchronized. And then you'll hear maybe a drum in the back or some form of music. Okay. Matter of fact, if brothers know about like kickboxing or really Muay Thai, which is Thai boxing from Thailand, right before they fight, they do a dance, right? I think it's called the Y Crew dance or something like that. You know, pretty much they're worshiping a god. They're doing their dance, but you'll hear the drums and the instruments in the back. And some people they they do their dance. You can look it up on YouTube. You know, they'll have like a symbolic expression at the end where the guy he draws an arrow and he shoots his opponent. You know, and they'll do the whole thing. But the point is the music is there and you're getting ready, even though that's a sport, right? From ancient times, they fought bare knuckle, you know. So it's all the same thing. Now, like I said, it's not wicked. Drums are, hey, like the scriptures say, all things are created one against another, and there is nothing imperfect that the Most High made. Roughly paraphrasing, that's in the book of Sirach. All things are set one against another, double. So there's a left hand, there's a right hand. Okay, it says breathing synchronizes, emotional state synchronizes. Neuroscience shows synchronized movement increases bonding and reduces individual fear. You stop acting as a lone organism and start acting as a unit. A unified rhythm lowers hesitation. Sound as dominance displays. Large drums produce low frequency vibrations that travel far. A sense of size and power. Across cultures, deep bass signals threat. Even animals use low frequency vocalization to assert dominance. Drums amplify perceived strength before swords even cross. All right, now let's look up this word music itself. Music, a pleasing succession of sounds or combinations of sounds. And you go down, the art of music. And finally, we go to the Greek, the art of the muses, muse. When we look up muse, right, this is going into one of the nine muses of classical mythology, daughters of Zeus. Okay, muse, to think, meaning inspire, goddess of a particular poet. And this is going into, obviously their paganism, their thing. We never called it music. We had our own name for it, right? Like when you go to 1 Samuel 18:6, and it came to pass as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the woman came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music. When we look up this word music, shaliyash, right? Shaliyash, which means third part, name of a measure, a musical instrument, maybe three-stringed, triangular shape, perhaps a sistrum or triangle, shield carrier, right? So pretty much a third part, which again, scholars debate. It could mean like a three-string instrument. Okay, so there's debate on that. And it can also apply why it says a shield carrier, because the point is that it's a third part. So, for example, when you had a chariot back in ancient world, you had three men. You had the driver, um, you had forget the second in command, obviously, and then you had the shield bearer or an assistant. Okay, so you had one, two, and then three in the back. Right, that's why that's going into. Matter of fact, when you go to the book of the same word is there in Second Kings, I think it's 7. Yeah, NLT says 2 Kings 7:2. The officer assisting the king said to the man of the Most High, that couldn't happen even if the Lord opened the windows of heaven. But Elisha replied, "You will see it happen with your own eyes, but you won't be able to eat any of it." So when we look up this word, a Lord, it's the same word, shal yash, a third part. Okay, maybe a three-stringed. Okay, same thing. Okay, that was just a little point, but the point is, the it's not the same as this muse. So we know that term music even has a spiritual left-hand connotation in this society. Right, now let me play this video. This is Michael Jackson.
Singers, when they sing songs, it's like a mantra. When you repeat a chorus over and over and over. So when a kid hears a song and he starts singing that chorus over and over and over, then you start to hear it in the alpha state, into the subconscious mind. So you start to become the song or become what you're saying.
Right, and we know that in society, in today's society, you got a bunch of demonic subliminals. You have something called backmasking, I believe. I did a lesson on that a while back, where it was a thing from the 70s, 80s, maybe earlier even, where you had those vinyl records and whatnot. You would play it backwards and there would be another message, which is completely demonic. Okay, so it says an 808 is just a modern war drum. The deep sub bass in a Roland TR 808 hits the same part of the nervous system ancient kettle drums did. Low frequency vibration that raises heart rate, increases arousal, stimulates adrenaline, creates bodily entrainment. Your body doesn't care whether the vibration comes from stretch hide in Assyria or a speaker cone in a nightclub. Bass is bass. It moves air, it moves you. Why 808s feel aggressive? Sub bass is physical. Very low frequency, 40 to 60 hertz range, are felt in the chest and abdomen. That physical pressure mimics threat signals, feels powerful, primes the fight response. Repetition builds trance. Modern trap, drill, and hard electronic music use repetitive kicks, sparse melodies, emphasis on rhythm over harmony. Repetition reduces cognitive processing and increases instinctive response. That's ancient battlefield psychology, right? And that's all you hear is the same shit. You just keep playing it. And like this guy, Michael Jackson, he said, look, it's like a mantra, right? And you're really inviting spirits. That's why this music, brothers, man, we got to be careful. We really got to be careful, man. You really got to filter. You got to take the best of the worst. Okay, make sure the worst is kept far back. You don't listen to that shit. The worst of the worst, I'll say. Because a lot of this music, man, like you brothers know, man, you'll hear a song and then you might hear it on the radio or from a movie, and then a couple hours later, yeah, it's in you. You start, and then you're just like, why am I singing this song? Why is this beat in my head? You know? Like I said, man, like you gotta watch guys like John Todd. John Todd broke it down. He used to work for Sony. He was a top guy, Sony Entertainment, right? So these guys do rituals on these records, especially the ones that go, well, not the ones that go, but the ones they want to go platinum or break all kinds of records. They do these rituals on full moons and all kinds of days where they put curses on it. So never mind that it's already demonic in the studio being made, then they so-called bless their record, which is really a curse to us. They do their rituals to bless the record, but it's really a curse. It's putting microaggressions in you. It's putting different thoughts and influences to where you want to do certain things, and then these things become habits, and you're just like, why am I even doing these things? Because it all comes from this programming, right? Tempo matters. Slower, heavy 808s control dominance, right? Faster percussion, agitation, urgency, and this is that trap shit. You'll hear that quick snare, the kicks, all kinds of, that vibration, and it gets you in a hurry, and then you're already messed up. You already got anxiety. You already don't trust people, especially Jake in the street. Jake is already bugged out. You give him that music, that's the spark plug to the fire, right? Tempo shifts emotional state directly. Important distinction. Drums don't create aggression from nothing. They amplify existing emotion. That's why I said it's not just the music. It's not you can play them exactly just the music, because there's all these other factors that contribute. Like I said, this is like a fan to the flame, a great fan, right? But these situations Jake already grows up with. So they're like, here you go. Here's the music. Here's the garbage music. Because again, remember, David, he was a musician, right? Let me see. Where's that scripture? Amos 5. Was it Amos 5 or Amos 7? Hold on, let me just type it in. Ah, 6. Amos 6 and 5. I'll read in the NLT. You sing trivial songs to the sound of the harp and fancy yourselves to be great musicians like David. So David was a lot, man. He was a king, right? He was a prophet. He was a musician. He was a warrior. So musician, we don't know what that is. I'm not saying he was a producer making beats in the studio, but he knew how to play. Probably knew how to sing. He knew how to dance. We know that. We know he knew how to play on the harp. But maybe he knew other things, guitar and all kinds of things. So he was a musician. So there's nothing wrong with that, right? The scriptures even mention that. Let me try to find that one. Right, Sirach 32 and 3. Speak thou that art the elder, for it becometh thee, but with sound judgment, and hinder not music. Right, so at the feast, at the banquet, at the whatever gathering, you can be talking, but then when there's music, there's entertainment. Don't hinder it. That means music is not wicked, and just because when we make these videos, Jake goes to the far right. Oh, music is off, brother. Brother, I don't watch TV. I don't watch music. I don't listen to music, brother. You know, don't be over righteous. Because music, you can listen to classical, you can listen to instrumentals. I love instrumentals. I just noticed that, especially with the new music, man, you got to read the lyrics. You got to make sure that to the best of your ability that that's on point, right? Verse 6, or actually verse 5, it says, a concert of music in a banquet of wine is as a signet of carbuncle set in gold. As a signet of an emerald set in a work of gold, so is the melody of music with pleasant wine. And Sirach 40 and 10 says, wine and music rejoice the heart, but the love of wisdom is above them both. Exactly. Getting these scriptures, but don't don't think that, don't think that music is just wicked. It's just in today's society, so many things are hyper amplified into wickedness. But like I said, music is a part of life. Okay, the Lord didn't create us just to be here listening to the birds and to the bees and listening, to the waterfall. We have music. Music is a part of life. That's what I'll say. Okay. Um. Yeah. So let's go back. Finish this up. So important distinctions, right? So they say drums don't create aggression from nothing. They amplify existing emotions, synchronize group energy, lower inhibition. In war, that becomes violence. In a gym, it becomes intensity. In a club, it becomes movement. But again, at the same time, in a club, right? Which you look at a club as that's a club of death. Literally clubs, skeleton clubs, like a skull and bones. Yeah, at nighttime it's dark, smells like weed. People are having libations and drinks, and then you got this aggressive. It's not even just aggressive. It's not that it's tuned aggressive. Let's say you got war, you need aggressive music. That's fine. That's not wicked, but it's aggressive and demonic. It's spirit. It's left hand sorcery. That's the dangerous part, man. Right? In a club, it becomes movement, same fire, different battlefield. The human nervous system hasn't changed in 4,000 years. Only the instruments have. Right? So, again, music isn't demonic. But again, you see this trap and drill, this mess, this madness out here that is helping, you know, contribute to Jake offing Jake, and being more aggressive, just getting more spirits on them. And Esau fine-tuned that with his sorcery, right? Actually cursing these records, putting spirits on them. Anyway, I hope you're edified with that. Ka halalim la Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Waharachak Shalom to the elect.